Greetings, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time from your busy lives to join us today. I'm Brett Walter, founder and CEO of Climate Action Now and producer of this series of action parties and creator of the Climate Action Now app. I see a lot of new names and faces today, which is fantastic. Please share your video if you're so inclined. This is a party after all. And tell us where you are from in the chat, and if you are inclined, and what organizations you're affiliated with. For you new folks, let me give you a quick overview. An action party like this is an opportunity to learn about an important environmental topic like plastic waste from people who actually know what the heck they're talking about. And then in the same hour, use the Climate Action Now app and your phones to send hundreds or even thousands of personalized, well-researched, well-written messages to political and business leaders demanding action. Today also, we'll be making phone calls. And does it work? Yes, absolutely. Action parties like this have helped pass key legislation in large states, including New York. You'll find video testimonials from the likes of Bill McKibben and other leading activists on our YouTube channel testifying to the effectiveness of these action parties. So Matthew, would you put the links to the testimonials and other resources I gave you in the chat?
Will do.
Also, I just want to note in that there should be a link to registration form for our next action party, which is on sustainable fashion. And as you know, fashion is a major consumer of plastic. So these two action parties back to back are very important. So Matthew, would you tell our folks how they can get going on the app?
Certainly. Just figure out how to, there we go. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the action party. Thank you so much for being here. Guess I have to bring up my window before I can share it. There we go. So as Brett alluded to, this is not only a party where we get to hear from some amazing experts, but a party where we get to do something, to take action on this important issue. So Judith and Alexis from Beyond Plastics are right there in Albany lobbying for this bill, and we're going to give them some air cover. We're going to give them some support by flooding the inboxes of New York legislators about the bottle bill and the extended producer responsibility bill. So the way that we're going to do that is through the Climate Action Now app. And the QR code that you see on your screen, the little weird looking box on the right-hand side, you're going to want to scan that QR code right now in order to get to the app and get to the actions that we have prepared today. And you can take those actions all throughout the hour while we're listening to our awesome speakers. So when you're ready to go, take out your phone. This also works on tablets, so take out your phone or your tablet and point it right at the screen in front of you and open your camera app, whatever you use to take pictures. Point the camera right at that QR code. Instead of actually taking a picture, though, you're just going to wait until a little yellow bubble pops up that says Climate Action Now. Click on the little yellow bubble, and it will take you to the App Store to get the app if you don't already have it, or it will take you into the app to our plastics actions if you do. So I'll give everybody a minute to scan that QR code. By the way, I know QR codes are finicky, so if anybody has any problems with the QR code, don't fear. Just let me know in the chat. I'll help you find an alternative method of getting to the actions today. Don't let technical difficulties stop you from taking action. And I love to see that we are already off to the races. People are already getting into the actions because I can see that because the pie chart, our little blue marble pie chart on the left-hand side is already going up. We've got 445 actions, 446. We are moving up. So keep up the good work. Leave this up for a little bit longer to make sure everybody has a chance to scan it. It looks like we are good to go. We're off to the races. And again, if anything isn't working for you, if the QR code isn't working, please do let me know in the chat. I will have many other tricks up my sleeve to make sure that you are able to get onto the app today.
Matt, there's a question on how to scan the QR code on a phone.
Yes. So once again, you're just going to take out your phone, hold it up to the screen. Oh, or if you're, does this mean, do you mean if you're on your phone? If you're actually on your phone for the Zoom meeting?
Oh, I don't know.
Ah, well, if you're not on your phone for the Zoom meeting, you're just going to take out your phone, open your camera app, point it at the code, and wait for the yellow bubble to pop up and tap on that. If you are on your phone, that's what this link down here is for. If you're actually on your phone today for this Zoom meeting, you're going to open your web browser on your phone and type in that link at the bottom, can.app.link/plastic2024. Make sure to capitalize the P, and that will do the exact same thing as the QR code if you're on your phone. Good question. All right, I will take this down, hand it over to you guys to get started. And once again, let me know in the chat if you need any help.
Okay, and then I'll just say one last thing. I'd like to extend my gratitude and appreciation to Beyond Plastics and Judith and her team, whose tireless work to end plastic pollution has been an inspiration for me personally, and I think probably for everybody who's concerned about the plastic problem. So thank you, Judith, and your team at Beyond Plastics. No further ado, I'd like to hand the mic over to our moderator today, Alexis Goldsmith, to introduce our panel.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. And Matthew, looks like some people in the chat still need help. So Matthew will be in the chat helping you get to the campaign itself in the app. Can we put up the tracker again on the screen behind me?
Yes, we can. Let me do that.
And yes, if you're not a New Yorker, you can still do all this.
Yep, there's a special script if you're out of state, and the app knows if you're out of state. So anyway, while Matthew's putting up that tracker here, maybe we can pin, or we can spotlight the tracker. Can we spotlight us as well? Are we spotlighted?
Yes, so both the tracker and you are spotlighted now.
Okay, thank you. So welcome everybody. My name is Alexis Goldsmith, and I'm the organizing director at Beyond Plastics, and I'm with my boss and mentor, the amazing Judith Ank, teammate, who's the former EPA Region 2 administrator and now the president of Beyond Plastics. And I'm not going to talk too much today. I just want to set the stage for everybody. If you've been following Beyond Plastics for a while, following this campaign for a while, then you've heard this all before. But we have a campaign in New York right now. It's called New York is Not Disposable, and the goal is to end plastic pollution in New York. And we've got two bills that we're talking about today, that we're taking action today, that are going to do just that. So let me set the stage for you. And again, if you've been following us, you've heard this all before. But if you're new to the issue, plastics are a big problem for the environment, for human health, for water quality. And it's a relatively new problem because they haven't been around that long. They've only been around since about the 1950s. So just to give you a short spiel on plastics, they're made from fossil fuels and petrochemicals. And as you know, they never biodegrade. And that's the big problem with plastics, because there's not really much that we can do with them once we've used them. The recycling rate in the United States for plastics is at less than 6% right now. We really support recycling. We support recycling paper, aluminum, metal, cardboard. That's all great. But for plastics in particular, recycling is not a great solution. And that's because plastics break down, even though they don't biodegrade. There's lots of different types of resins. They're often contaminated. And to be honest, new plastics made from fossil fuels are just cheaper for companies to use. So we have two bills that are targeting the biggest source of plastic pollution, which is single-use plastic packaging. Right now, the world is producing about 470 million metric tons of plastic every year, and the United States is the biggest plastic polluter. And more than 40% of that plastic is just for single-use packaging. So it really makes no sense that this material that is toxic, that is warming the planet because it's made from fossil fuels, that never breaks down, is being used for a single-use purpose and then discarded. So just to give you some quick stats, and then we'll get to the good news. In terms of climate, a recent study found that plastic production is warming the planet 4 times faster than the entire aviation industry. That's a pretty alarming statistic considering we don't actually see the emissions from plastic, but they're hidden in the supply chain because they're made from fossil fuels and then they're often incinerated. And we're going to hear from somebody who lives near an incinerator in just a few minutes. And that is another aspect of plastics, is the environmental justice issue. The fact that they're made from fossil fuels, the fact that there are literally sacrifice zones in the Gulf South and in Appalachia where the plastics are being produced, where they're being dumped. They're disproportionately harming communities. And then in terms of health, microplastics are everywhere because plastics don't biodegrade, but they break down into smaller and smaller pieces. So plastics have been found in our food, our water, our bodies. And another recent study found that microplastics are actually associated with an increased risk of heart attack and stroke and death. And in terms of water quality, all this plastic waste is because we can't do anything with it, it eventually finds its way into the environment or landfills or incinerators. And right now, estimates say that the equivalent of 2 garbage trucks per minute are flowing into the ocean. So this is all pretty grim, but we have good news, and that is that there are solutions. And we're at a moment where we can really tackle the root cause of this problem, which is single-use plastics. So the first bill I want to talk about is called the Bigger, Better Bottle Bill. And if you're in New York or in a state that has a deposit law, you know that when you buy a beverage, it often has a deposit on it of 5 cents, or in other states like Michigan and Oregon, 10 cents. And then that deposit's refundable and you can take it back where you bought that container and get your deposit back. And that's a really good example of a concept called extended producer responsibility. So the beverage manufacturers are required to take back those items of packaging and deal with them rather than requiring the municipalities to continue to deal with them. But in New York, our bottle law really needs an update. It was passed in 1982, and in fact, Judith was instrumental in getting that bill over the finish line. And Beyond Plastics is back and working on it again. So in New York State, we have a 5-cent deposit. We would like that. We have a bill to increase it to 10 cents. Now, this is a refundable deposit. So you pay the 10 cents, you get the 10 cents back. And that's all the consumer end sees. But the bill does a lot more than that. So it puts a deposit on more types of containers. And in fact, by 2029 in New York, under this bill, every beverage would have a deposit except for infant formula, dairy alternatives, and 100% juice. So that's going to cover a lot of things that are currently in the waste stream, like cider, like nips, which are a huge source of litter, what else isn't covered? Sports drinks, iced tea, and yeah, and these are often littered. And in fact, the New York State Attorney General at this moment is suing Pepsi for its pollution in the Buffalo River watershed. So the bottle bill is going to recover a lot of those containers from the waste stream and ensure that they're actually being recycled. And it has a really, really exciting new provision in it that would require companies to start to refill their bottles. So mere decades ago, some of you on this call may even remember this, many beverages were sold in refillable containers with a deposit. And the idea was the deposit would encourage consumers to return their containers because that container is valuable. So they return the container to the manufacturer washes and refills the bottle, and then it goes back into the market. But that system has gone away. It's been replaced by single-use, mostly polyethylene terephthalate, PET plastic bottles. And that has come at a great cost to the environment, to oceans, and to communities around the world. So the New York State bottle bill, as it stands now, is the only bottle bill in the country that would actually start to bring back refill with deposits. And 25% by 2030 is what Coca-Cola has already pledged that they would do because they recognize they're the biggest plastic polluters in the world. But we know that voluntary pledges aren't enough. Coke and Pepsi have been pledging to address their plastic pollution since the 90s, and they really haven't made any progress. So we're saying, and you're saying today to the Senate Majority Leader, to the Assembly Speaker, and to your own legislators, bring back refill with deposits, expand the bottle bill to raise the deposit and put more deposits on more containers. And that will ensure that containers are actually being redeemed and recovered, refilled, and recycled. So very exciting on the bottle bill. And did I miss anything?
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
Alexis.
Yep,
Okay,
if we have any
let
questions,
me-
we can take questions.
Let me just jump in and point out, folks, that we have hit our first goal of 1,000 messages. That's really amazing. 1,000 messages have flooded into New York legislators' emails. If you haven't started using the app, please start using it. This makes a huge difference. This is how we win. We have folks like Judith and Beyond Plastics who are on the ground. They work on policy with sympathetic legislators. They get it queued up, but then the legislators need the courage to act, and they won't act if they don't think they have the support of their constituents. And when they know they have that support, they act. So it's an inside game, it's an outside game. We're part of the outside game right now. Our job is to put this legislation over the finish line by letting these legislators know we have their backs, we support them, we need them to do this for ourselves and for our kids and for all the other critters on this planet. So scan that QR code, please. Get the app. Even if you're befuddled and bewildered here in this and during this hour, you can do it afterwards. I'll be sending a recording to you, to everybody who registered afterwards, and you can then be taking action more in, when you're less stressed or when you have more time to do that. So it's so easy to do. The main thing people say about the app is it's so easy to use. Please use it. So Matthew, how about giving us a new goal?
Already done. We have 1,500 actions, and you know what? I think we're going to meet that pretty fast. So I'm actually going to up it again because you guys are doing so great.
Let's raise the stakes. Let's do it. So thank you so much to Climate Action Now for partnering with us on these incredible bills. Judith and I are actually live from the New York State Capitol right now. We are pounding the pavement trying to get these bills done, but we couldn't do it without the grassroots. I mean, we're doing this for the planet, and so are you. So I'm going to pass it off to Judith to talk about the packaging bill, which is, I think you're going to be very excited about.
Thanks. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Judith Thank with Beyond Plastics. Most importantly, I want to thank Brett Walter and Matthew Vollrath for their continued support. I think both Brett and Matthew are perfect examples of we're always figuring out how can we be effective advocates in this world with so many issues in front of us. And they are tech experts. So they took their expertise with technology and put it in the hands of all of us. And you will see that this app is easy to use and it's highly effective. And I vigorously endorse it and thank Brett and Matthew for making this asset available to us. What they're doing reminds me of the old saying, do everything you can where you are with what you have. And that's what you all are doing as citizen advocates. And we have very exciting updates from Albany. So Alexis brilliantly walked you through the Bigger, Better Bottle Bill. I'm going to talk about the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act. It does 4 major things. And then I want to tell you the exciting political update. So keep doing your multitasking, listen to us, do the app actions, fold your laundry, and eat lunch all at the same time. And then when I get to the political update, stop chewing because you're going to want to hear this. So The packaging bill used to be known as EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. It has a new name, not very exciting. We didn't name it, but it's the New York Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act. Emphasis on reduction, because plastic recycling doesn't solve the problem. It is the most comprehensive plastics reduction bill in the nation. It requires a 50% reduction in plastic packaging over 12 years. It's incremental, so it's very easy for companies to have the time to comply. And if you're not reducing your plastic packaging, the rest of the packaging has to reach high recycling rates. Second most important provision of the bill deals with toxics. Plastics are made from fossil fuels, mostly ethane, a byproduct of hydrofracking, and toxic chemicals. 16,000 different toxic chemicals are used to make plastics. This bill phases out the 19 most toxic chemicals used in packaging. Who knew that there was formaldehyde in our packaging? There is. Who knew that there was vinyl chloride? So this bill is so modest on the toxics front, but is being vigorously opposed by the companies that make the chemicals. So we phase out the entire family of PFAS chemicals. So that's PFOA, PFOS. We eliminate lead from packaging, mercury, cadmium. I mentioned formaldehyde, vinyl chloride. We're working so hard to try to convince EPA to ban vinyl chloride across the board. 99% of vinyl chloride is used to make PVC plastic. If we can ban vinyl chloride from packaging in New York, that would be huge. And then recognizing that getting rid of the 19 chemicals is not taking care of the entire problem, a process is set up for the state environmental agency to consider future chemicals. Third, no chemical recycling. So we love recycling of paper, metal, glass, cardboard. Keep doing that. I started my town's recycling program in upstate New York. I am a dedicated recycler and composter, but plastic recycling has been an abysmal failure. It's only clocking it at 5 to 6% because it's made from too many different toxic chemicals, too many colors, too many different polymers. So that's why plastics recycling doesn't work. And now the industry is promoting something called chemical recycling, which is heating plastics at really high temperature to try to turn it into fossil fuels. And then a little bit of turning old plastic into new plastic, but it uses a massive amount of chemicals. So the bill we're supporting doesn't ban chemical recycling, but says that you cannot count chemical recycling as real recycling under the bill. And then finally, modest new fees on packaging. And that money will flow to local governments for them to fund waste reduction and recycling programs. In New York, this is an election year. Voters want to see strong policies to reduce pointless plastics. And here's the exciting legislative update. So Alexis and I and others are camped out in the New York State Capitol in Albany. The good news is there's a relatively new Dunkin' Donuts in the Capitol. So we can bring our reusable mugs and just constantly drink coffee around the clock and keep talking to legislators. So the bill, the Bigger, Better Bottle bill, this is remarkable, passed out of 3 assembly committees yesterday, all on the same day. And now we have to get it to the floor of the Assembly and the Senate for a vote. The packaging bill passed out of the required 2 committees yesterday. It already passed in the Environmental Committee in February, and I'm just talking about the Assembly now. And yesterday it passed out of Assembly Codes Committee, Assembly Ways and Means Committee. As we speak right now, the Assembly Democrats are in a Democratic caucus deciding what to do with these 2 bills right now, today. So when this is over, we're going to scurry out of this library, which we're probably not supposed to be in, and go talk to legislators. And so Your emails and your phone calls today could not be more timely. I'm feeling hopeful with the New York State Assembly, but what's really going to put this over the finish line is more people power. So this Tuesday, May 14th, Andrew's going to drop in the chat. We have a really important lobby day scheduled. It's not too late for you to register to come to Albany on Tuesday. If you can't make it to Albany, that's okay. Just keep doing phone calls and emails on the app, get others, do a letter to the editor, and do everything you can to build support in your community. If you're in the upstate Capital District area and you can't lobby with us all day, come to the rally Tuesday at 12 noon outside the Capitol. We have some amazing speakers. We have legislators, we have hip hop caucus, we have music. It's going to be a wonderful rally at noon. So I think that's the update. I mean, this is so well timed. The legislature adjourns on June 2nd. And
June 6th.
I'm sorry, June 6th. So we only have, less than a month to get this done. And I can tell you, as we lobby in the legislature, the opposition is out in force. The American Chemistry Council has hired significantly more lobbyists to kill this bill, both bills, I think. The plastics industry is out in force. Kraft Food has a full-time PR firm saying we're gonna take their individually wrapped plastic cheese away from you. It's getting wild.
Woo!
Okay,
Raise the stakes, Matthew.
I guess
Will
I'm done.
do. Congrats, everybody.
That was-
Got to 2,000. I'll get it to 2,500 for now, and we'll just keep going up.
Great. Sorry, finish your thought, Judith.
I'm done.
Okay,
That was
great.
perfect timing, and you scared me.
I'm sorry. So, should we maybe take a couple minutes to answer questions while people make phone calls, and then we can go to Courtney? So, in the app, it's going to prompt you to make 3 different phone calls. One to your own, 4 different phone calls. One to your state assembly member, one to your state senator, one to the Senate Majority Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and one to the Assembly Speaker, Carl Hastie. So we'll take a few minutes now to make some phone calls, and we can take a few minutes at the end. So if you don't want to hear Q&A, go ahead and just mute for a few minutes, make those phone calls. And in the meantime, we can take any questions on the bills, and then we'll go to Courtney Williams with Westchester Alliance for Sustainable Solutions.
Yeah, and by the way, those phone calls are at the beginning of your action carousel. They're the first 3 actions. The first action will be to your senator, state senator, and state assembly person. Second action should be to Speaker Stewart-Cousins or Majority Leader Stewart-Cousins, and the third action should be to Speaker Hastie. And make sure to select the call option. You'll be given a call or email option on each of those. Make sure to select the phone call option.
And if you're out of state, Kathy, yes, you can't call your state assembly member, obviously, but you can still call the majority leader and the speaker.
I actually don't think you can. Sorry, if you're out of state, I don't think we included that option.
Then just keep emailing.
Yep.
Question in the chat, Matthew, about how to get back to those. Do you just scroll this way?
Yes, you just swipe your finger back all the way to the beginning of the carousel. Yep.
Any questions on the bills in particular?
By the way, sorry, it'll say if you've already done one of the actions as an email, it'll say you've already done it, but you should be able to click do it again, and you can do it again as a call.
No questions. You explain the bills so well, or this crowd's already heard the spiel 100 times.
I'd just like to add to folks, as you've heard, it's really important that we put lots of public pressure on these legislators. So you're doing that now with this. You can do it afterwards. And when you get the email later today from Climate Action Now, it will have this QR code in it that you can see here tonight, on the screen. So forward that email to your friends in New York and ask them to watch the recording, ask them to participate in this action party after the fact. And I guarantee you this number that you're seeing right now, over 2,200 messages, by this time tomorrow, that will be over 5,000 because other people in the app will be taking these actions throughout the day. And if you help us spread the word, especially in New York State, we could maybe do over 10,000 actions before the end, messages before the end of the week, and phone calls. So it's people power. It's a numbers game, getting it out there. Thank you.
Got to pump up the crowd on Zoom.
Oh yeah.
God, it's a
Oh
dance
yeah.
party.
Excellent.
I have to say the last time I was on with Brett and Climate Action Now was about the Save the Hudson bill. So my small city of Peekskill is an environmental justice community, and we have a nuclear power plant on our borders, and the evil power plant company wanted to just dump all their radioactive wastewater right into the Hudson River. And we had one of these action parties, and we got that bill passed. And so these really, really work. And so I'm hoping the session ends on my birthday this year. So I'm hoping that my birthday present is that these pass and all of our actions today are effective.
Well, happy early birthday, Courtney. I think that's a perfect segue into introducing Courtney. Matthew, could you spotlight Courtney for everybody? And let's keep the tracker up as well. So if you aren't done making phone calls, that's okay. We'll finish the phone calls at the end, but I really want to introduce Courtney Williams with Westchester Alliance for Sustainable Solutions. She's got a laundry list of qualifications as to why she should be speaking about this issue, least but not last but not least, that she actually lives next to one of New York State's 10 waste incinerators. So I won't take up any more oxygen, but I'll pass it over to Courtney to tell you all about why this bill will protect environmental justice communities in New York.
Thanks, Alexis. Yeah, Peekskill is an EJ community, environmental justice community. We have a lot of polluting infrastructure, including that nuclear plant I mentioned, a massive fracked gas pipeline, the trash incinerator, all of those things, all in a small majority Black, brown community. They don't put this kind of infrastructure in a wealthy white community. So whether you're at the production end of plastics and Cancer Alley in Texas, or you are at the end of that pipeline where the plastic is being disposed of, it is the same story over and over again. This burden is put on communities that are least able to adapt and make up for the harmful burden of pollution. New York State passed, we all celebrated, they passed the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act a few years ago. And as part of that, they wanted to really make sure environmental justice communities got a fair share of the funding that was going to come out for the implementation of CLCPA. And as part of that, they had to come up with a criteria of just how bad these communities had it. And they called it a disadvantaged communities criteria. I looked up my census tract on that map, and the burden that my census tract is dealing with is higher than 98% of census tracts in the state of New York. And a big chunk of that comes from that polluting trash incinerator. And a big chunk of what that incinerator is burning is plastic. I was able to go on a tour of that facility, and the mountain of plastics that were in there, everything imaginable, just multi-stories high. And if you want to see the inside of it, ABC News did a story almost a year ago now, and Judith was in the piece and I was in the piece. It's called Trashed, and it's by ABC News Live. And they were able to get in there and see and film in the incinerator. So you can see for yourself just the astounding amount of garbage that we're burning, but then also all of it that's plastics. And, you know, so my day job, I'm a cancer researcher. That is what I do for a living. And so I say, like, oh, I try to treat cancer during the day and I try to prevent cancer in the evening because that is really what this comes down to. What we are burning when we burn plastics is burning carcinogens. And, you know, I don't want to age myself, but I graduated from high school a couple of decades ago. And when I was in high school, then we knew the harms of plastics. I did a project in high school on xenoestrogens, which are the chemicals that leach out of plastics that are bioactive in your body, in your cells. We've known this for decades, yet we continue to allow the use of these chemicals to make plastics, food grade plastics that we are then eating. And then when we're done with them, we throw them away. But there is no away. It's got to go somewhere. And unfortunately for my small city, it comes to Peekskill. A lot of Westchester County's most of Westchester County's garbage comes to be burned in Peekskill. And then after we're done eating it, after we're done breathing the fossil fuel emissions from the massive fracked gas pipeline, some of which is used to make plastics, we get to breathe it when it's burned. And the pollution doesn't know to stay in these environmental justice communities, right? It doesn't know to stay in Cancer Alley in Texas. It doesn't know to stay in Peekskill or any of the other communities that host incinerators or landfills. It winds up affecting all of us, not only because of the effects on climate change, but also the health effects. So I could spend my life playing whack-a-mole to try and get each municipality to pass their single-use plastics ban, or each, county to improve recycling, or what. We could play whack-a-mole forever. Or we could just pass these two bills and solve a lot of this problem and take a huge leap forward instead of fighting this piecemeal. I was on an environmental justice program where Andrea Stewart-Cousins was the main speaker. And it was for Westchester communities around this disadvantaged communities criteria. And what I remember her talking about, and it really struck me because of the fight I'm facing here in Peekskill, was that she remembers growing up in the Bronx and looking out her window and being able to see the trash incinerator in her neighborhood. And she has spoken openly about her lifelong struggle with asthma. And all I could think of is all the little girls in Peekskill, all the little Andrea Stewart-Cousins in the making that are looking out their windows and seeing the trash incinerator in Peekskill. And, so if, when you are calling her office or whatever, just reiterate to her staff that she knows what it's like to be in an EJ community and suffer from the kinds of pollution that these plastics are generating. And it is well within her power to get this bill passed and make this a reality and save a whole bunch of little kids in Peekskill and other communities, the other incinerator communities and landfill communities around New York State from that same fate. And a lot of the others of us too, from breathing this pollution. So, this is an environmental issue, but for those of us in these communities that are dealing with the harms of plastic pollution, this is a public health emergency. And the Senate and the Assembly and the governor need to act like it, and they need to act quickly, because every delay means another Andrea Stewart-Cousins growing up with asthma, means another elder going to the emergency room for a heart attack, we really need to act for our planet and for our health. We need to get this done. So thank you all. I see we've just broken 3,000 actions. This is amazing. And, you know, I know everyone is on here for their own reason, but as someone who looks out the window and sees the smokestack of the incinerator, it feels like you're all doing this for me and for my kids. And for that, I am immensely grateful. So thank you all. And thank you, Judith and Alexis, for the opportunity to come on and share some of Peekskill's story with you.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney. Everything you said is just really so difficult to imagine what it's like to live next to an incinerator, and nobody deserves that. And we really hope that we can end incineration in New York State. Now, we can't promise that this bill is going to do that, but it's a big step towards reducing the waste in order to do that in the future. Yes, Courtney is going to be there on Tuesday at the rally. Again, that is 12 p.m. on Tuesday, May 14th. We'll be in West Capitol Park, which is at 198 State Street, just across from the Legislative Office Building. We'll be hearing from Courtney and lots of other speakers, and then we're going to be doing lots of meetings with legislators to try to get this bill over the finish line.
So if you want to come on Tuesday, you have to pre-register, or else we won't be able to slot you into meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So pre-register today, because Alexis and I will be meeting this afternoon and Friday to set up all the lobby teams. So if you're coming, please pre-register. We've got a good number of people coming, but the more the better.
So while we have Courtney, I would love to invite anybody to ask Courtney questions or to comment on environmental justice or what Courtney had to say while we continue to take action. And if we get to 3,500 actions in this hour, 1,000 more than we got last year, I will do the chicken dance. I'll do it in this library.
Oh, you're going to be dancing. You're definitely going to be dancing.
Matthew, are folks able to unmute themselves to be able to ask questions or comment?
I believe if they'd like to, we can unmute them. So if you want to be unmuted to ask your question, go ahead and use the
Okay,
raise
we'll keep
hand
going.
function, and we can do that.
2 questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Should we have people raise their hand then, or?
Well, we'd rather people keep doing their phone calls and their emailing. So why don't we just be quiet for 5 minutes?
Okay.
Is that all right? You can always email us questions, but you know what you're doing.
Now would be a great time to play The People Have the Power.
We could sing it to them.
Sing it, please.
The people have the power. I don't know the lyrics.
That's our theme song, the Patti Smith song, the people have the power. Terry Robin, who's a local musician, will be singing that at the rally on Tuesday.
They really do have the power.
I just want to comment on what Joyce is saying about the messages for the bottle bill. So the bottle bill just started moving, and it was very surprising how quickly it moved. So we've actually been preparing for this event for weeks, and we had it all set up ready to go, and then all of a sudden the bottle bill's moving. So I only had time to add the bottle bill to the call scripts for calling your own legislators and calling Hasty and Stewart Cousins. So do make those phone calls. It's really, really important. But you can edit the emails to say anything that you want. So please feel free to customize those emails. It's actually better if you do, to include the bottle bill. And I will put the numbers in the chat. Nancy, the bills are not being voted on today. They are being conferenced. Judith, can you clarify what that means?
Yeah, so conference just means the lawmakers have a big meeting just with their own party members. So there's a Democratic conference, there's a separate Republican conference. They meet behind closed doors. Sometimes they don't even have staff with them. And they just talk about the bills. They answer questions, they address concerns. And big bills like these typically don't come to the floor until they conference it first. It is sometimes it's where bills go to die, and sometimes it's where just like questions are answered.
All right, Alexis, let's see it.
All right, all right. But you have to keep taking action though.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Oh, she's so good at this.
Little bit superior dance. What is that? Is that a song? It might.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Dance I remember.
Think we'll get to 4,000?
Maybe. I'm really
think we
impressed.
will.
We already blew past our stats for last year.
If we get to 4,000, can we end?
Sure. Yeah.
If we get to 4,000, I won't raise the roof anymore. That's our
Okay.
final.
All right,
Our
keep
final
going.
goal here.
We're close. This is starting to sound like an NPR fund drive.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, please get to 4,000 so we can stop talking about it.
Asking you.
That's how it feels when we're talking to legislators. Please just pass this bill so we can stop nagging you about it. Jennifer did all of her actions. Congrats,
Wow.
Jennifer. Now you have to go report all of those to Andrew.
That's impressive. That's like more than 200, I think. 200 emails.
She's a machine.
Tracy, you can search for your assembly member.
While we're vamping, can I do a plug for a WAS event we're having tonight? So for Westchester County folks, WAS, Westchester Alliance for Sustainable Solutions, we're having our monthly Zero Waste Task Force meeting tonight at 7:30. It's actually a candidates briefing. So we have invited candidates running for any office, from local government to federal government, who are seeking to represent Westchester County residents to come and learn about the Westchester County waste system and trash incineration, the alternatives, and then very specifically the actions that they could take as elected officials that would solve our waste problem. And obviously this bill and this type of bill is a perfect example of the things that they could be doing. So I'm going to put a link in the chat to register. And if you join, see if your candidates show up, or certainly invite them. And, because this is how we're going to do it. People always ask me like, oh, zero waste, like it's a pie in the sky idea, or like, how are you going to get rid of plastic? It's impossible. And, it is doable. We just need the political will. And that's what we're generating here today, is like making clear to our elected officials that this is an issue we care about. And when we do that, we get the movement and we get things done. So, we can help make this kind of plastic pollution and these zero waste goals and trash incineration. we can make these campaign issues by asking our candidates their positions on these things and keeping them, in the forefront. Because, it is an environmental issue, but it's also a public health issue and a pressing issue. So I'll put that link in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney.
Now I will just remind everybody that I'm putting in the chat now the registration page for our next action party on fast fashion, which is a huge consumer of plastic. And there is some really key legislation that's in the works that can address the problem with sustainable fashion. So you'll be hearing from experts from the World Wildlife Federation, from Fossil Free Fashion, and Parsons School of Design. So it's going to be a very interesting action party. I hope you can join us.
And yeah, thank you again to Climate Action Now. So if you like this action party, just keep the app and you can take actions on other things. What are some of the actions that you have going on, the campaigns that you have going on at the national level in the app right now?
Oh, great question. Yes, we have new actions coming in every day. Every week, we have a brand new campaign in the app. This week, our campaign is around the Farm Bill and protecting climate smart agriculture funding that was, there's $20 billion that was earmarked for climate smart agriculture funding in the Inflation Reduction Act. And the House Agriculture Committee is trying to basically do away with that and use that to fund general farming practices that have nothing to do with the climate. And so we are trying to stop that and going to Congress and to the agriculture committees this week, trying to advocate for keeping that bill in committee until they get that provision out of there. So that's our campaign for this week. Next week, we're going to be doing a campaign on the congressional hearings on big oil and everything that's come out in those hearings, including but not limited to how they're partnering with academics to create research studies that benefit them. All of the obviously disinformation and greenwashing and false advertising that they've been doing. So we're going to do a big public awareness campaign next week to publicize the findings of that committee. So yeah, every week we have a new campaign. We have also a wonderful team of volunteers that's just creating new actions based on what they're reading, based on what is coming into their inboxes in terms of being important for climate. So you'll never run out of actions. We have users that take 75 actions a day, every day on the app. So that's the Climate Action Now guarantee. You will not run out of good things to do for the climate if you use the app every day.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for making it easy. And we beat our goal. A round of applause, everybody, please. I know it feels so good to do these actions together when you're just calling on your own and you call in and you're like, am I really making a difference? But then when you see 4,000 calls and emails, then you realize every email, every call really does make a difference. So thank you, Climate Action Now. Judith, do you want to close it off with anything hopeful?
Well, this is hopeful. I feel like today's action has canceled out all of the influence of the special interest lobbyists that they are having in Albany today. So we have to now redouble our efforts. We have our big lobby day on Tuesday. Please write letters to the editor. It takes a couple weeks for them to get published. So this is the week to write them. And thanks to our friends at Climate Action Now for facilitating now well over 4,000 actions taken on these bills. This is a very powerful app. Thank you.
And Courtney, any parting words?
Just, a reminder to folks, like, this is how we get things changed. It's not, I tell people, generating waste is not a personal moral failing when you live in a society and a system built upon making things disposable. And also your efforts, your time is best spent taking these kinds of collective action. Whatever you're doing by yourself is not going to change the planet, right? Like I could kill myself trying never to use another piece of single-use plastics, or I could spend my time advocating and working with others to get this system to change. And so thank you all for, working together today to make our system change, make it more just, make it more sustainable.
And thank you again to Beyond Plastics and Courtney for your incredible work on the ground there in the New York Capitol. That is the inside game. That's so critical that we get these laws queued up. And then this outside game is for folks like us to apply the public pressure on legislators to make the courageous actions necessary to get the laws passed. Inside game, outside game, this is how we win against the fossil fuel industry. Public opinion is the only effective counterweight to the immense power of the fossil fuel industry. And the industry knows this, which is why it spends hundreds of millions of dollars trying to shape public opinion with disinformation. So when you sitting there alone, like Alexa said, and say, well, gee, am I making a difference? Yes, you are making a difference. Your opinion is your superpower. And this app lets you magnify your opinion and your superpower, and you're not taking action alone. You're out there with the rest of us. We're all sending these messages, and it is making a difference. So thank you, everybody, for showing up today. We're at the hour. This has been an outstanding action party. You guys rock. I mean, I feel like we made some big waves there in the Capitol today. So thank you, everybody. And Judith, I'll remind you, we're going to have a little huddle here at the